it over here. And we'll just take a little bit of a look at the chart for now. So before I begin, this is natal chart analysis for the country of Palestine according to the 1988 map. Okay, so not 1948, but when they declared themselves Palestine. So this is moon day, sun hour, with the sun in 13 degrees Scorpio in the 11th house. Ascendant is ruled by a direct Saturn in Pisces in the 3rd house. 9 degrees Capricorn ascendant, 26 degrees Libra midheaven, ruled by a Venus in the 27th degree of Virgo in the 9th house. Very close to the ascendant of Palestine, by the way, just 2 degrees. Moon in 24 degrees, sextile in Ketu in Libra, and Rahu in Aries. Let's first of all take a look at the chart, and I'm using an Instagram account by Bruce Wayne. So apparently this is where I found the chart. So this is from November 1988, 1:40 a.m. So this is in the middle of the night. Jerusalem. This is the date for this chart. And so the ascendant is in 25 degrees Virgo. Immediately, when I think about this degree, I think about Rojava having Lilith on the 22nd degree of Virgo. And I think about the connection between these degrees. This is, by the way, 1 degree for my descendant. So, and it's funny because I'm Israeli. In Israel, usually when people would talk about peace with Palestine, they would say, oh, but there is no partner, there is no partner. For me, it's like, this is my partner. So immediately I was like, this is funny. And so this is the ascendant. That means that at around 2025, 2026, we will have eclipses around this ascendant. So we all have Rahu on the 7th house of Palestine. Okay, this means that for Palestine, if we take this chart, what is happening now on the Aries, which Aries is here. Yes, Aries is the 8th house. So 8th house to the 2nd house. And 8th house. So unfortunately, right now, Palestine is going through 8th house Rahu, which means it's losing its resources. And unfortunately, there is trauma to the nation, because 8th house is trauma, transformation. And Mars here is in the 1st degree of Aries. So is likely for, okay, I'm speaking about this a lot, but now I'm actually seeing this in this chart. You know, when I began to have my Aries in Aries, and in relation to the eclipses, and I began to go over the houses and say where you need to be more inclusive in order to gain the benefit from the eclipse cycle that we had with Rahu conjuncting Aries. Okay, we already had this eclipse. And for Palestine is 8th house. This literally means that there is something ancestral about this nation that needs to honor and be more inclusive of LGBTQ and various ethnic identities within Palestine. You know, not all of them are Muslim. Many Palestinians are Christians, but it's not only that. They need to be inclusive within them. This is 8th house. 8th house is what we swipe under the rug. Okay? I have Libra 8th house, and I have always had the difficulty to be financially competent, because Libra is financially competent and I have like traumas around this. So I swipe it under the rug. Aries 8th house is the opposite. Okay? This, I guess, is why I'm investing so much in Palestine, because this is my second house and it's what you spend money but also resources on. I care for this country to be healthy, to be good, to thrive. So in Aries, you must, right now, because there is Aries in Aries, is for the last 100 years or so, Aries is you have to live and let live or else. You have to be inclusive or else. She started the Trojan War. This also tells me that there could be forces from within Palestine that because they were not included, they did not mind for the entire Gaza to be bombed. Because anyway, they did not have a life. Anyway, they did not have a right to be. And Aries is in Aries is about identity. Okay? And here's not necessarily women in this particular one. It's actually different type of identities of asserting ourselves. Maybe neurodivergent people, maybe LGBTQ people, but other things also, people who are born different. Okay, how do, I don't know Palestine. Okay, so how do Palestinian people treat people who are born different? Because right now, what the trauma they have, in Israel, is for other reasons. Israel, we have problem with land because we didn't house our homeless. Okay, we didn't house our homeless in Israel, only got permission to exist because it was supposed to support people without differences in religion, gender, ethnicity, what we call race, and belief. No, religion, sex, sorry. So when we for chronically didn't do it, then comes certain transits that say, okay, Israel, you will have to change your ways, house your homeless or else. Okay, for America is also with homeless people, but for Palestine they have small land, so it's not the homeless thing, but it is about being inclusive. Okay, the traumatic part, and this is also why they have problems with Iran, because Iran before the revolution, it was very inclusive, very free. Iranian people, even as refugees, they are very free. They don't just support Palestinians. They want to see free women. They want to see free LGBTQ. Very brave people. Arabs are very brave people. And so what would make it the easiest for Palestine as a nation, okay, is to be more inclusive of LGBTQ, of different people, neurodivergent, because Aries rules the head, so can be the nervous system, and also to give the conditions to make rational decisions, because Aries rules rationality, okay, and so for people to have it at least in the cognition, they must address this 8th house, this Aries, and to allocate resources. 8th house is resources. Okay, to give money to resources. For example, for me, I had Libra, 8th house. I did not buy makeup. Okay, and Libra is about beauty, is Venus. So I did not invest in beautifying myself. And when Rahu was in Libra, I invested in beautifying myself. I actually got into debt because of it, to change my facial skin and so on. And then I got funding. After the debt, I got funding to study a first degree. I wanted to study. I didn't care about being beautiful. But I invested in beautifying myself and I got money to study, actually because of the debt that I had. So for Aries, okay, this is me showing you how if you address your 8th house and you integrate something of your 8th house, you get benefit. With Libra is money, but 8th house in general is generational wealth. I see this, I think about myself too, because I neglect my beautification, so it's losing generational wealth. I now understand this. But for Aries, it's about letting live and let live. And I felt I constantly say that recently. I can't live and let live or die. This is absolutely what Aries in Aries is. And so I understand that people that are living in such crowded places, they are already in a situation where it's very difficult because people don't have enough space. That being said, even setting intention to tend to this, to live and let live. And you see who supports Palestinian people outside? Even gay Jews. You understand? So it's like you get everything, all the support that you need, but you must make sure that in Palestine you live and let live. Then you will resolve the intergenerational trauma, because it's about how do you know. I saw the Saluki traveling in Palestine. He's an Israeli who was traveling undercover in Palestine, and he was traveling in West Bank because this is where he could be. And there were no pride flags, no women in the street, and I'm like, this is so crazy. Why no women? Why no pride flags? Why no? And he would get to these people because he would look to interview like the interesting people. Why can people expose themselves as gays in Palestine? Okay, it's not that there is no gays in Palestine. There is no women. Actually, I heard shorts of women, Palestinian women, singing, and very beautifully. But it's something there. I don't know the history, and I understand it's 9,000 years. Okay, so this is some history. But when you get that, then a lot of what is going right now, because right now we have a cycle where Rahu is going to be in the 8th house of Palestine. This is trauma house. Palestine has to address all of the things that it swept under the rug. You see, for me, 2nd house, it's making money in myself and releasing trauma. So I'm releasing trauma and learning to make money in myself, but also learning what had affected my intergenerational wealth, my choices, and also what needs to change in the world. Okay? And for Palestine, when you become more inclusive, then you see, you begin to unravel. It's like a gunk when you have like, you know, the cats that they play with. There's like this ball where you knit sweaters. So there's this ball of like, yeah, cloth. And then, you know, when cats are beginning to play with it and they dribble it. And so with 8th house, you have like this ball. And it's a ball of kind of gunk and stuff to sweep under the rug. But when you tend to the core issue there, then it begins to unravel. And it opens the gate to wealth and to release generational trauma. But now, unfortunately, tremendous generational trauma, okay, is happening to Palestine. And we are, unfortunately, only in the beginning of the eclipse cycle with Rahu in the 8th house for Palestine. It's a very difficult eclipse cycle. But the more we are inclusive quickly, then you will, instead of trauma, what you will gain is intergenerational wealth. For 8th house, also rules debt, but yes, this is the story. And maybe we think of times in history when in Palestine the people were more free, or women were more free, or LGBTQ were more free, then you will gain from these timelines, you will gain skills, you will gain what you need, you will expose this. If there were times like this, you will expose this, and you will see this, because this is a big deal. And the conflict people have is also with Iran, because Iranian people, they have seen what a country that is a country, existing country, looks like when there are no rights. They still have to be refugees all over the world and escape, you know. And so they are not quick to say free Palestine. They're like, how are the women being treated? How is LGBTQ being treated? And I'm one of the people that saw the most. To me, 2nd house, so I see it clearer. Okay, if I'm not included towards, I will not make money. You know, it's 2nd house. But also that my 2nd house is Palestine. 8th house is like, I care so much to say this. I care so much because it's connection. For me, it's clearer. For Palestine, it's like we spike it. But I remind you this not because I hate you, because I don't want you to go through tremendous traumas. There's no point. Okay, Rahu. Rahu is in Pisces, 11th degree. This means that 11th degree is communication, is can be suicide, okay, but also aircraft and things missing with those things, like things happen with those things. And Pisces is in faraway lands. This is Rahu, okay. It means Ketu is in Virgo 11 degree. And Virgo, whole sign speaking, is in the first house. And this means a bit of unfortunately, Palestine, what is known for suicide bombers. It is true. But also, yeah, it is 12th house, Placidus. And if I give Placidus readings, then Ketu in the 12th. But this can also mean that for Palestinian people, this can also be not bad things, because just Ketu without a degree, it means that you come from exile, from living in exile into your country. But it means that, yes, 6th house. But there are things to deal with your health in your country. Because 6th house is our health. Also, it's very good for pets. I don't know if you have like national pet or something like that. No, Muslims like cats, but not all Palestinians are Muslims. But yes, pets is going to be useful. Also, pet is good to heal trauma. But the 12th house, Ketu is a 6th house Rahu. And so if you don't want to have enemies, then you adopt pets and you care for the pets. And this is the best way to learn. And then you keep yourself healthy also. For Pisces, it can be horses. You know, I know Arab people like horses, but not necessarily Palestinians. Can be horses. You might also marine life. So you could care for marine life or horses or something to turn it into like national thing, or must care very good of the pets. So if you do horses, you must care very good of the pets. Very important, because if you care for this, it's your health. Your health is going to be affected. There's a 6th for individuals. But this is in Placidus reading. Whole sign reading, it means that Palestine is becoming less known by suicide bombers, partnerships. 11 degrees problematic, is suicidal. Also, another problematic degree that you have is 22 degrees Scorpio sun. Okay, 22 degrees is to kill and be killed. Many, for example, Peter Adefries had Sun and Mercury on the 22nd degree of Scorpio. So he was looking into unresolved crimes, and eventually he was assassinated. He was a journalist. But for a nation, it means that this country is in a situation where they're either killing or being killed. And here, what I think is very good, when in this it in the episode of astrological considerations for declarations of independence, is that we need to elect, because this is, people elect these things everywhere. People's secret societies elect these things. It is pre-elected. So you need the people to learn about electional astrology and elect dates. Who picks a date with the 22nd degree sun for a nation country? You understand that this election was not picked by a friend. I don't know who made this declaration. November 15, 1988. You know, this is not an election that was picked by a friend. I must tell you. Because 22nd degree is the degree of to kill and be killed. And look at the sun, it is in the 3rd house. Whole sign speaking is in the 3rd house, not 2nd house. I have sun in the 3rd house. 3rd house is not a blessed place for sun to be, because you have to do Do what you came here to do every day. You see, I make videos almost every day. It's exhausting for the sun. It's daily routines. It's where you take a shower every day. Okay? It's not a good place for the son of a country. And look at it, 22 degrees. It's like Palestinian nation either has to kill or be killed. You understand that this is pre-elected? And you have nothing on Procyon. I looked at it because you see, I was born in Israel. Israel would have mid-heaven on Procyon, 25 degrees Cancer on Procyon. You know what is Procyon? It's denuclearification. United States has Mercury retrograde, but a degree from Procyon. And they had John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy avoided a nuclear holocaust. They avoided Russia from nuclearly attacking the United States in 1963, the Cuban Missile Crisis. He has his midheaven and Saturn engulfing Procyon. And the United States has Mercury retrograde. They have an issue with words there, right? Retrograde, but on Procyon. And Israel has this too. Procyon is denuclearification, this protection from nuclear war. Palestine doesn't have that, but as a nation, this means that, Israel is not likely to bomb Palestine because Procyon. United States not likely to bomb Palestine with a bomb. Procyon. But when Palestine is a country, you don't have anything on Procyon. You will need constantly to have something on Procyon so that you will not be nuked. And this tells me, I don't know who picked this. Whoever picked this put you the 11th degree with Rao and Ketu. Not a good election. Not a good election. But tending to inclusivity, you will get better election, and you will need people that know you, the people, need to learn about electional astrology. So that when people will tell you we will meet at this time, at this place, you check the planets. And you can agree or disagree. You know, another thing that in Israel sometimes they would say about Palestinians, they say they never miss a chance to miss a chance. And when I think about it in retrospective, because A, we know it's not true, but B, is when I think about this in retrospective, I also think about elections, because if you would be offered a certain election to do something, and this election is not good for you, you have to turn it down. Okay, this is why it's so important to speak about astrology, to speak about these things openly, because otherwise there is an inner layer of consideration that you cannot speak, and you cannot say why, because people will say, well, you're crazy, you're astrology after that. No, these are elections. And I looked at this chart today because I was looking at Kissinger, and people talking about dropping a bomb on Gaza, and I'm like, this is not, if they drop, first of all, the people are bombing Gaza, so people are outside of the range. It means that not that they will not get hurt, but if you drop an A-bomb, immediately it will evaporate if you're within the range. But if you're outside of the range, it means support the people in Palestine, okay? Because Gaza City is like, it's being bombed. People have to run away. So they're not within range for the quick humane death. And it also hits Israel. This is how nuke works. Hydrogen bomb, same thing. And so I was trying to look. I said, who will do this? Because if we have mid-heaven on Procyon with Israel, unlikely to do this. Even if they say Israel did it, it's not Israel. Israel is unlikely to do this. We only get protection from the mid-heaven of Procyon. It's the mid-heaven of the country. It's the chart it's an election. It's like you work with a talisman, and this talisman forbids you to do this. It gives you certain protection. It's forbidding you to, because every conflict that you have, you will look from within. How does Nelson Mandela had sun on Procyon. What did he do? He kicked apartheid. How did he kick apartheid? He was standing to the king, And he was marrying a woman from another tribe. And he was making sure that people assist each other regardless of bloodline segregation. What was apartheid? It was bloodline segregation. So he removed bloodline segregation from Africa the best he could, good enough for him, for apartheid to be obsolete. And what he took from the white people, if they taught something that he found useful, then he would take it. He doesn't care, white people, black people. If it is good teaching, he would take it. Okay, so he was very intelligent. This is Procyon. This is Sun on Procyon. He had Sun in the 8th house. He removed apartheid by doing this. For Palestinian people, you must embody Procyon. You think about Islam is marked by the moon. What is the moon ruling? Cancer. What is the most potent outside of Sirius fixed star in Cancer? It is Procyon. Procyon is denucleification for people who are. I know that Palestinians are not just Muslims, but for Muslim people, Procyon is very important. For everyone, for any nation, Procyon is very important because Cancer rules the people, it rules the motherland. And so Procyon must be involved in the chart of a nation. It tends to where we are being cannibalistic, where what we do to protect ourselves is becoming cannibalistic. And then we have protection even from nuclear bombs, hydrogen bombs. All of these things that touch at the core of the country that are able to completely ravish a motherland with protection, okay? And so I see a lot of fortune here, 19 degrees. No, it's not in orbit. It has to be 25 degrees, maybe 24 and something, and maybe 26. That's it. Must be. Either ascendant, which you get every day you have an election with ascendant on Procyon. The best is when Procyon is rising, okay, and the moon is applying to it. The best. Right now we have a problem because Saturn in Pisces is going to square by sign this Procyon for a while now. Yes, Saturn is going to square it until it reaches where it trines it. But until it leaves Pisces, Saturn is going to be affecting. Even still, ascendant on Procyon, you could have midheaven on Procyon like Israel. But do not give up Procyon for a nation. Is the fixed star, I think, is most important for a nation. How did I get here? New tab. No, I was looking for a Palestinian chart, maybe like this. No. Palestine natal chart. Here, Bruce Wayne. So you see, this sun is the character of the nation. In Scorpio, 22nd degree, very bad place for a nation. Because it puts as a person, you can be like a person who is looking into unresolved death stories. You can do a lot of great things with it. But as a nation, it means, for a person, it means that the person you're very likely to be assassinated. Okay? Or your father is likely to be assassinated. But for a nation, it means that this nation is literally assassinated. This literally means that it's a signification of genocide. Who picked this? Don't tell me. I don't want to know. Just make sure we learn about astrological elections, and when you have Declaration of Independence, I don't want to see 11th degree. I don't want to see 22nd degree in a Declaration of Independence. Don't accept this. I want to see Procyon. I want to see Procyon. I want to see Procyon when it is rising. I want to see Procyon when the moon is applying to it. Then I know we are thinking of how do we grow and evolve as nation, where we make occupation obsolete. But this is a marking of a genocide. And it's nothing to do with Israel. Look at this chart. It's nothing to do with Israel. This is the chart for Palestine. Okay? It's nothing to, also, Israel with Procyon, United States with Procyon, they're not the ones to nuke. They are not the ones to nuke. I don't want to begin to predict, but you understand that this is not going to be Israel or United States. The United States did drop nukes, and it was associated with Gemini. Yes, they were developed when Pluto was in Gemini, and it's Mercury retrograde. I don't know the internal everything about this. I know about Manhattan Project from Feynman. That's how I learned about it the most. But when I look at this chart, I see, Procyon is very protective. The only person who believed that I know that a method of solving a political conflict is to drop a bomb, a nuclear bomb or hydrogen bomb, was that I know of is Henry Kissinger. And yes, Henry Kissinger was working with the United States regime. But in general, this is a country that is very aware of what nuke does, because unfortunately with Mercury they tried it. But they are more protected because of the vicinity to Procyon. Israel is literally, we developed nuke, but for denuclearification. We developed nuke for scaring others, basically, so that we won't get hurt. That's pretty much what it is. And it is our midheaven to look within. It's a legacy to look within. And I think the moon for Israel is in Taurus, was also exalted. So to look within and to nurture ourselves and to nourish ourselves so that we don't become cannibalistic. Unfortunately, right now, there is radicalism in Israel that's eaten at the heart of the country. This is also how and why eventually we got invaded. It's not that they didn't plan it, that people always plan things for many years. But when people genuinely are no longer supporting, freedom and not nourishing everybody, not housing everybody, depriving people of land, then eventually comes a transit that says, okay, that's it. So I will tell you what I do like about this chart. Oh, before that, I will tell you another thing I don't like about this chart. Jupiter in Gemini. What is Jupiter doing in Gemini? Jupiter is ruling Pisces, is ruling Sagittarius. It got no place in Gemini. Jupiter is philosophy. Gemini is words. Jupiter is a big thinking, beliefs, religion. Gemini is what works. And you know what I think about this Jupiter in Gemini? I see many Palestinians who say, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. And this is almost like satire. Why? What do you not like? Why do people afraid of Israel? Because Israel had this belief of Eretz Yisrael Hashlema, which is basically meaning the same thing. Maybe we learned it from Palestinian people. I don't know. But this made people believe that we are an empire that seeks to colonialize the entire earth. And while probably there are fundamentalists and extremists like this, but most of Israel politics, imagine agreeing to the 1948 borders, is basically pragmatic. People just want a place to live and live well. Also, you see a lot of Israelis abroad. What are they doing abroad? They're seeking to live well. If the conditions in Israel are not good, they will go wherever is good. You see, it's a lot of pragmatism. A lot of pragmatism. And when you say when you ask people, what do you like about Israel? Oh, that people help each other. That's what they say usually. What did people help each other? Okay. It's not always true, but when the people who do like Israel, they like it. They like it because of that. Okay, the sense of community. Jupiter in Gemini is basically you have a philosophy and you use words that are not either your philosophy is just words, okay, you don't really mean it. And what I'm hearing the argument about from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, is we don't mean it as a genocide. And I'm like, but in practice, this is a genocide. So change your phrasing. I don't support Eretz Israel Shlema. I support pragmatism. I support good living and housing for everyone, regardless of the nationality. This is also my ground to support Palestinian people, because I think they will make better decisions and be more rational people when they have some acres of land, when they have good space, but they must be inclusive towards LGBTQ, towards people in general, also Israel, also everybody. Okay, so so when you say something like from the river to the sea, I'm like, you're doing the same mistake of Eretz Israel Shlema. It's fundamentalism. You tell me I'm not I don't mean it. Okay, then change your phrasing. Jupiter in Gemini is exactly that. It's when you try to advocate for yourself, you do it in a way that the words Mercury that you speak to convey your ideas, Jupiter, are incompatible, or you just say something and you don't really mean it, and now you're telling me you don't really mean it. I say, so say something else. You cannot, because you have Jupiter in Gemini. And Mercury that rules this Jupiter is in 13 degrees Scorpio. It's actually very deep thinking. It's very deep thinking. Unfortunately, with Mercury, Scorpio, Mercury is also ruling children going through tremendous transformation. Scorpio is a very deep sign. So Mercury there, while it makes you a great thinker, it also means that the children are going through tremendous transformations. And this conjunction with Pluto, I don't like at all. It means that you are deep thinkers, but it also means that your children are going through extreme traumas and also sexual traumas. I don't like it. Okay, you cannot control everything when you make an election, but this is a very big problem. It's basically can be a signal of sex trafficking of children in the nation. And I don't know anything about Palestine, okay? I don't know anything. All I know is that there are bombs in Gaza and civilians are being killed. Oh, okay. You know that there is this saying that the terrorists, I'm sorry, when people murder and rape and behead people, I call them terrorists, okay? You can call them guerrilla warriors someplace else, but this is not even guerrilla war. And I understand it's not an army because it's not a country, blah, 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 but you're funded by Qatar. So not you, because the money doesn't reach you. It reaches the people who manage this. And we know that the world is a bit corrupt. And so the people who are managing Palestine are not necessarily of the people, but this is true to any country. It's true to any country. Israel is not exempt from that either. Very important. But it doesn't mean that we don't have responsibility as the people to do good to the people. And this is when Pluto will reach Aquarius. It is we as the people. We must be kind to one another as people. We won't be able to blame only the regime anymore. So when there is this saying that Hamas, I think probably also before Hamas or PLO, uses children and women as human defenders. So they wrap themselves around like with children, so that when they bomb, they have to bomb like everybody, and then the children die. Unfortunately, this Mercury Pluto in Scorpio is exactly this signification. Because I said child trafficking, child sex trafficking, it's like probably, maybe, I don't know, but what is it? And immediately I think about this. Israel has bad problems with children too, because we had castration of people by chemical castration, still done today. Beta blockers, what they give for heart conditions, for recovery from chemotherapy, and for mental health. Beta blockers, what they call antipsychotics, is chemical castration, is also murdering the person. But this is something that's practiced worldwide. And who are the people who go through this? Is people who went through either certain violence, heart is some shock that you were exposed to, and cancer is something that, maybe the food that you eat, you need to eat better, or maybe the air that you breathe, or maybe you live next to a nuke site, okay? So they want to silence these people and not to make them have children. Also, we had the problem of kidnapping. Globally, there's a problem of kidnapping children by the welfare, supposedly for the right of the child. But when children actually need help, they turn to the welfare, they're sent back to their oppressive families. So I assume Palestine is not exempt from this, but because it is not even a country yet, I guess where we see it now is the children being used as like, supposedly guerrilla wars, but this is no longer guerrilla wars of freedom fighters, because when they rape people and behead people, when they do, what they did in 7th of October, I don't just look at it, look what they did to us. I'm sure they're doing this in Palestine. People cannot talk. Okay? And so this is very troubling, because when there is Palestine as a country, okay, when it has like country, declaration of independence, if the election doesn't change and you keep this is child sex trafficking. Okay, Mercury is children. And also, when I had a funny moment, because I was looking at the pattern in which Peter R. de Vries was assassinated. And what happened? The police gave him ultimatum: either you have no protection at all, or you have protection so much so that you cannot broadcast, you cannot have a phone, you cannot anything. And so, of course, he chose no protection at all, because he's a journalist. And so that's how he was assassinated. And I was looking to see if where are more places where police did similar thing. And I looked at assassinations of journalists. And live, I was doing study live, and I had a moment, because I live in Israel, and the top place for journalists to be assassinated is in Palestine, and reportedly by Israel. And I was doing this live, So also the case where journalists are being bombed can be. I'm not saying it is, but it can be this situation of like hiding journalism. It's very difficult to get good coverage from what's going on in Gaza, because there's powers here. And this is with the Pluto Scorpio. But even if this did not exist, it means that you will not have freedom of speech as a country. Not good. Not good. To have like Mercury sextile, Mercury trine, Pluto, okay, it means you are deep thinkers, you are power informed, you can have powerful journalism, children can be even protected, or they may be informed of the atrocities, but have power to transform, to change, to do something about it. The hard aspects, and conjunction is a hard aspect, it's crisis. Now, of course, conjunction is better than, let's say, a square or an opposition. Okay, I have Natalie, Pluto opposing Mercury, and I was exposed to atrocities as a very young child that affected even my voice. You hear my accent is changing, affecting speech. So here, difficulty in speech. Conjunction is better than probably opposition or square, because they blend together. But for children, it's very dangerous, because the child is still has to have an entity and affect speech, affect journalism. also affects trade. Okay, this means hidden monkey business. Okay, and this means even when you are a nation, if you keep this chart, this means monkey business. So, but definitely, I don't want to see 11 degree and 22nd degree on a chart of a nation at all. No place for these degrees. No place for these degrees. This is genocide, sorry. The 22nd is genocide. It also means that you will perform a genocide, which right now, you know, the 7th of October, Palestine did genocide. Palestine is written on a genocide. That was the 7th of October. I know that they are probably doing this to their people too. I don't fool myself that Palestinians live in more peace than the families who had their babies baked in the oven and the mothers raped and beheaded because, just because, okay? There's no rational reason to do that. Not even blood sacrifice, you can grow hibiscus, okay? So this means, that can also mean that then this is leaders genociding people. Moon in Capricorn. If sextile in the sun, but separation from sextile in the sun, and it trines Mars, but Moon in Capricorn, Mars ruled Moon with Saturn ruled Moon with Saturn in Capricorn, very gloomy. It's in detriment. Okay, you could have a better moon. Really, and moon is the people. It means that people are restricted. What do people in Gaza suffer from? Also in the West Bank, they don't have freedom of movement. Moon is traveling. Saturn is restricting this, and Saturn is the 0 degrees Capricorn. So you're enclosed in a structure. Not a good election. It keeps you constrained until the leaders perform genocide. And it's the leaders. Sun is the leaders. Where's Leo in your chart? 12th household sign. Your leaders are your enemies. And I'm not saying Hamas because I don't know who are the leaders. Can be hidden leaders as well. Scorpio can be hidden, okay? But you must understand. Also, the sun is representatives. So people who represent you are your enemies. You have hidden enemies that are leaders. Rulers. I don't know who they are, okay? Because who we see is not necessarily who they are. This can be, you know, it doesn't mean that this is Hamas even. It doesn't mean this is anybody. But your leaders are assassinating you. They are assassinating you. And people are supporting them. It's also meaning people can support your genocide. Okay, this is very, very difficult chart. And part of fortune here in Cancer, not too much, but the 19th degree, but the part of fortune in Cancer, it means that fated events are happening to the people. Okay, this is also a chart that is, you really need, if you ask me, how can you get out of this chart? Because you need to get out of this chart. This is not a chart, like, no, you need to get out of this chart. How to get out of the chart? Need to be more inclusive, even secretly. Okay, set intention. Make the slightest action towards your intention. Mars is in Aries, is a very potent Mars. Can be very impulsive, but it is Mars in its home sign. It's the Mars. So you may have like the nation has like a desire to be ruling the world, not just ruling, because Aries is the first sign. Okay, and the first, it's not the first degree, it's actually the second degree, it's 1 degree Aries, is within the first decan of Aries. The Mars decan of Aries, it basically is like the beginning of the world. So you want to start like a new world. And this is heavyweight here. But if you are more inclusive, this is the 8 houses transformation, you can get the way out of it. So being more inclusive. And this is also about your internal thought, okay? Which every person deals with their own internal projections. And I don't say I have a whole teaching because I don't. I understand that you need to get out of this chart, that your leaders are your hidden enemies. Whole sign, it is your representatives, because it's 11th house. It's also your leaders. You're leading the nations around you are like your enemies, which unfortunately we see. And they want to, and they are in a position where they feel like they are survivalistic. So they kill you or they die. And this is why they are your enemies. Okay, the motives is because they feel they are in a position where they either are dead or they have to kill you. So leaders here, representatives or colleaguing nations sozusagen, but the leaders, okay, not the people, the leaders. So and of course Scorpio sun, but this is Scorpio sun, but yes. Venus is in Libra, 19 degrees Libra. You also see that Placidus, the cusps of the houses for both Libra and Scorpio begin on the 22nd degree, the to kill and be killed. No. This is also like Rojava, because Rojava, the reasoning for your declaration of independence, how should I say it? Pick the chart of your desired objective, not the chart of why you did it. And why we did it is not always what we want to achieve. The 22nd degree means that we have a time stamp that to do this we must kill. But we want the election for the Declaration of Independence to be such that we give a time stamp that allows life. 11th degree, 22nd degree are very lethal degrees. So in my election, I want to, and I want the moon growing. The moon is growing here, but this is growing genocide, growing trauma, growing this, growing that. Very, very not good election. What I like, and I said the only thing that I like about this chart, you have this conjunction with Uranus in Sag, 29 degrees of Sag, and Saturn. Uranus-Saturn conjunction, it's an out of sight, but what's beautiful is that Saturn is in its home sign, and it's around the IC. What's beautiful about this conjunction, this is a conjunction of people who come up with a whole new field of study, a whole new method to do something, okay? So this is something that I like. It also means that the use of astrology and sciences and of being diligent and methodical can get you out, okay, can improve upon, you can get out of this chart. Uranus in Sagittarius is radical freedom. Saturn in Capricorn is the epitome of patriarchy, unfortunately. One thing is good for you. With this chart, you want to be in an area where it's open and there is mountain. I don't know I think Gaza is more flatland, right? I don't know. I don't know the actual geography. Mount Sinai is difficult. They don't want you to get there because in Mount Sinai is very much like the region that you need because it is a mountain, okay? It's higher and it's free, isolated there. So in such a place, actually Mount Sinai is good for you, better than Gaza. Better than Gaza. Shomron was not so good for you because even though the vicinity of Jerusalem, it's like Jerusalem is a sacred city and so on and so forth, but you need, with this chart, to get out of this chart to a better chart, you need the mountains you see here. 1, 2, 3, 4. The vicinity to the mountain, you need to be next to the mountains. But mountains that are isolated, mountains that are no settlers, no people, okay? And in this place, if the motherland, if the territory is in the mountains, then you will be able to develop an innovative technology, also innovative field study and innovative solutions. This is Uranus. You're also destined to do this. It's probably a part of the raison d'etre of your existence here. And again, I don't know. I think I recently learned that Palestinians existed like 9,000 years ago. So I don't know. Like I know of the inventions of Babylon, but I don't know about Palestinians. So, but with this, the raison d'etre is you came to invent something new. You came to invent a whole field of studies, even a new religion. But with this religion, it has to do. It will be more free. It will be a working together of being diligent and methodical, but also resting, good rest and good action, and being freedom oriented. And this is actually denotes for religious tolerance. Okay, because Saturn is religion, tradition, and also the mountains and gurus and structures, and Uranus is tolerance. Okay, it also means that you try to reach, right now it means that you try to reach a structure or to break a structure by bombing. But unfortunately, Saturn is also Lord of Karma, so you get it back. But it's also because I think you're not placed in the mountains. Okay, you need to be in the mountains, in a place where it's free, not populated. You need a place there's like a mountain, not populated, and then this is also Sagittarius means traveling. Okay, you need to be able to travel free. Maybe this is why you say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, because you want to be freely traveling. Yes, and it's good for you, it's very important, but you need to be in places not so populated. And unfortunately, the ruler of this Uranus is in Gemini, and Gemini is populated as the city. So what is come? Oh my God, you are like chosen for the 20. It's not a good chosen. It's chosen for the 2030 15-minute city. Not good for you. Horrible. You will have a lot of explosions there. You will have no matter how much you will work with the technology, it's only be constraining you. No. You need to be in mountains, and maybe have like, yes, maybe a city in the mountains. But you have like cities in mountains. Oh, maybe that's why you like Jerusalem, because Jerusalem is like a mountain of cities. But it's going to cause you problems, because I'll tell you why. Jerusalem is going to take you to radicalism of religion. And what we want to do with this Uranus is actually religious tolerance. Jerusalem needs religious tolerance. Okay, maybe that's why you are so obsessed with Jerusalem, because some Arabs are laughing at this, but because Jerusalem is a mountains, it's a city on mountains, so it has this like structure, and it's a very religious city, but it's religious for all religions, all three religions. But there's the danger of radicalism with Uranus. And you kind of bring, it's like you are balancing out Jerusalem, because it has Jews, it has Muslims, it has Christians. And when you have two, they fight each other. When you have three, it's something that is balancing out. There are a lot of fights in Jerusalem, but kind of like the Jews can take over, the Christians can take over, and the Muslims can take over. So this is something, and I know that some Palestinians are Christians. But you see, yeah. Yeah. Maybe you want Jerusalem, maybe you have desired you want Jerusalem in order to get out of this chart. Maybe that's why you want Jerusalem. So, working with Jerusalem can be good, but trying to think. Uranus is radical acceptance. Sagittarius is religion. You need to be radically accepting of different religions. If you have like ritual where you work with Jerusalem, okay, you paint Jerusalem, you invite Jerusalem, you meditate on Jerusalem, And you envision it like the pride flag, but where every color is also not just accepting of like LGBTQ, but also accepting of religious tolerance, and that those religion would be good to children. Okay, Mercury ruled Jupiter. That those religion will be good to children. The children will have a childhood. Also, LGBTQ is important for you because Jupiter is ruled by Gemini. You must respect LGBTQ. Another thing, Gemini is the sign of the twins, but it's ruled by Mercury. Mercury has no gender. Okay, it's adaptive. Can be woman, can be man and woman, can be like this, can be like that. Okay, your religion has to be inclusive of LGBT. This is why you are having this, because you are meant to bring radicalization, radical acceptance to religion. This is why you are here, because you are challenging the Vatican, you are challenging the Muslims, you are challenging the Jews, you are challenging everyone. And you are put in this constraint spiritually, so that you must want a way out, because you're in this position that the only third option from to kill and be killed is to bring a radical acceptance of children, childhood, fair business, okay, a fair use of technology. It's everything Gemini. Also, Sedna has entered Gemini, and is only 2 degrees from Jupiter. Finishing those Sedna stories where we sell girls, we sell children to marriage, to this, finishing child trafficking, you meant to instill this in your religion. And you see all the signs. You deal with a lot of trauma that is associated with those things that are of countries that were made in the past religions. You bring like religious innovation. And Saturn is in Capricorn. So Saturn is at home. You have the diligence, you have the dedication, you have the ability to meditate and to rest. And Uranus is on the anaretic degree of Sagittarius. Is a very potent degree. It's able to see into the future. Okay? So the raison d'être for your existence as a nation in modern times is to bring such religion that is inclusive, to bring religious tolerance, to bring radical acceptance towards gender variety, and very important are children in the religious beliefs that is growing up, because this is why you're going through this. You see also who supports you. LGBTQ. These people support you from all the world. And you think this is unreasonable. LGBTQ will not be safe in Palestine. But this is a clue for you, that these people support you. Because this is why in modern times, this is why you're going through this. This is why you're existing in this way. It's why you're going through these challenges, why you're going through both the Holocaust the Jews went through, because you are. I see it. You are. I'm not impressed by all the world, all the pro-Palestine, pro-this, pro-that. I'm not impressed by this. I see what you are going through, because what you're going through is what the Israelis went through. Because you have no land, and to have a land, you need to kill, to perform a genocide. Something must be, it's like there has to be a third option. And this is bursting out of nationalism. Because right now, Pluto is going from Capricorn to Aquarius. Aquarius is not about nationalism. But also, we don't want the one world state. Okay? What is important for us is rights, specifically rights for children. The entire world is corrupt because children are being mistreated. Before even women, before even LGBTQ, before everything, our children are being mistreated globally. Okay, and you are one of the nations not with this declaration, but what you need to do to outgrow this chart, and you're destined to do this. Saturn, Uranus, you're destined to do this. Is very strong. With Neptune and you have Neptune, Saturn conjunction, a wider orb, you are destined to dissolve old structures, all patriarchal structures. You see? You're dealing with tremendous amount of disillusionment from patriarchy. Neptune in Saturn. It means you are idealizing the father, patriarchy, and so on and so, or religion even, and you're dealing with every single disillusion from this. And this is how you are dissolving the structures. You see, it was a Palestinian artist that created the painting, it's the graffiti basically, of a person firing a gun, and from the gun, I think there were hearts or something like this. Yes. It's kind of like love is my religion and stuff like that. It's like, and it was Palestinian artist. I don't have his natal chart, but and this is why you get such support from the LGBTQ community around the world, because they see that this is what you need. It seems unreasonable, but this is where this is heading. My Mercury is in your 8th house. It means that what I say stirs up a lot of trauma and drama in you. So I'm not the best person to deliver the message. I do what I can. I do this podcast. But every word I speak is like shivering your world, because it's 8th house. It's what you swipe out in the rug. I spill the tea. Okay? But I don't do this to traumatize. I do this because I understand that this is where the solution is at. This is where the solution is at. Now, Venus Libra. I want to talk about this. Okay. Venus is in 19 degrees Libra. The Ketu is in 23 degrees Libra. And it was so when the eclipse we had was on 21 degrees Libra. So it was between the Israel ascendant, 23 degrees Libra. Okay, this is right opposing Aries. And so Israel has not been inclusive of Palestinian people. This, unfortunately, did not age well. And it's not about blame shame, it's the result. But also you have Venus, which is ruler of your 2nd house. Plus it was even 1st house. And Venus, having Ketu on Venus, unfortunately, it means that certain Palestinian women died. And we don't know, okay? Also, it means the resources. I'm trying to think resources. Maybe court system. I know you lost the university, you lost hospitals. Taurus is your 9th house. Oh, it's ruling your 9th house, you lost the university. Because university was your resource. But this also tells me that in this university, the people who were the engineering of the bombs were you understand this. So you lost that university, the structure you lost. But unfortunately with Venus, yes, some thinkers, maybe you had female thinkers, female women thinkers. I don't know who was lost, who was killed. There were so many people killed. But women thinkers. And it's actually through your university, through your higher studies, that you have connection with the land of Israel, because Israel basically has Sun and Venus in your whole sign 9th house, which is Taurus. This also means that you are philosophically connected with Israel. Your worldviews, your religion is connected with Israel. Jerusalem is one big Al-Aqsa and so on. But it's not just Muslim. There's just something about the worldview is very much affected by Israelis, and you are actually able to understand Israelis a lot. Actual Palestinian people, okay? especially women, or those leaders that are of Taurus or of Libra. They could be judges, performers, singers, artists. Yes, very close proximity. We also look the same, and when we speak, when we get angry, we speak the same. It's the same words. We throw at each other. But this Ketu with Venus is that loss of that university, but also a loss of certain women, singers, performers. But the rise of people that you were not including in Palestine is hopeful in the sense that there are people that were swept under the rug. Palestinian people swept under the rug, maybe gays, maybe so, maybe that. And now perhaps we'll be more inclusive of them. And reformation to your religion is needed. It's probably happening. But it's very difficult to say religion because there are Christians and there are Muslims, and I'm sure that there are a couple of types of so inclusivity of religion is needed. Yes. Now let's try to do transits a bit. We talked about the eclipse. Pluto is going over your moon. Unfortunately, yes. And death of a lot of people. Unfortunately, moon is signifying the people in the country's chart, and Pluto conjunct in the moon, which is going to continue for quite a while. Unfortunately, is it's literally rejuvenation in the people, but the praxis in this is many people die. It's genocide, unfortunately. It's genocide in a nation's country. Pluto moon, it can be genocide, yes. And I know that throw phosphorus at you, which is also a biological weapon. They also did it for the demonstrations in Israel. So this is also where we get the people in Palestine. They are so resilient, the most resilient. Yes, moon in Saturn, with Saturn at home. But I don't want you to have to be resilient. I want you to have a good life, which is totally different chart than this chart. But to outgrow this chart, I told you. Go to the mountain area, you can work with Jerusalem, even meditate on bright flags in Jerusalem. When this war, on 7th of October, I actually wrote a text, and it was like, instead of the jeeps that we had to kidnap people and to torture people, there was like people having like a pride parade that is mixed with Palestinians and Israelis. And it's kind of like I envisioned peace in this place of where the war was. And as I'm looking at this chart, I'm like, oh. And I received a lot of things to do with Palestinian queers or Arab queers or Muslim queers or stuff like that. I understand that this is the raison d'etre, and unfortunately, because the change is so difficult to explain to the world and to explain even to yourselves, and because yes, moon here, moon to squares. You have a moon square Aries. Yeah. So yes, moon square Aries. It means that you have innovation to bring to the world, but you find it difficult to believe your own innovation. Okay, I have it from Cancer. I have the moon in Cancer square in Aries, but it is LGBTQ stuff to do. Like you came here. The raison d'etre is that you are having all these difficulties, like the carrot and the stick. You have support from LGBTQ people, from woke culture, sozusagen. Okay, it's very LGBTQ. Okay, it's those people. These are the people who support you. The rest are supporting Israel. Okay, so these are the people who support you. And they have requirements. Okay, they will not let you do stuff like that. They will flip on you like this. But also, you have what people call the stick. It's kind of like every other way other than being inclusive that you try leads to death, and quite a horrid one. But you are provided with the diligence that you need and the innovation that you need to do this. But unfortunately, Mars with conjuncting your descendant, this out of sight conjunction, it means you're fighting a lot with your partners. Again, you're outgrowing this chart. Because right now you will fight a lot with your partners because all your partners are like, oppressive. You know what I mean? So that was Pluto. What else do we have? We have Neptune in Pisces. Neptune is right on the degree of your descendant. So it means that there is a lot of fog, disillusionment. It also means you are partnering up with crooks. People mislead you. Your political partners mislead you. You're partnering up with crooks. Or there is some fog. Or alternatively, there is required spiritual surrender when it comes to your partnership house, your international, where you need to surrender to something. But it also means that the conflict that you have with your partner is going viral, which is what happened. Unfortunately, it also means that your partners can become refugees, which also happens. Your partners have missing people, which also happens. Okay, like missing people. Partners can become refugees. What else? Okay. This lunar mention of Pisces is a lunar mention of Jesus. Why am I saying that? What was Jesus doing in his life? Other than, did not like the merchants that they put and but what Jesus was doing in his life, he was miraculously healing people, and he was, with his energy, able to be protected in the most dangerous of situations. Unfortunately, he also crucified himself, but he was also crucified. But he was able to walk in the most dangerous places and be protected in order to heal the people. Okay? This is your partners. Don't mess with that. You have Christ consciousness partners. These people are able to walk. There is a sentence, though I walk through the valley of death, I shall not fear, for you, my Lord, are with me. Okay, it's a biblical saying. This is your partners and open enemies. Okay? You must be fair with your partners. But unfortunately, you tend to fight. And because you want to create a new world. Now, if the world that you're creating is not Christlich in what we understand as Christianity, but is compassionate, is inclusive, because Jesus was inclusive, okay? The prohibition on gays is not coming from Jesus, it's coming because in the past, boys would learn with boy teachers and girls would learn with girl teachers. And if there was incest, then it would be with the same sex. So what people believe to be is that if we prohibit same-sex relation, then we solve pedophilia. But unfortunately, unfortunately, it didn't solve the issue, but attraction to your own sex does nothing to do with pedophilia. It just meant that when we separate people, then those people who are pedophiles are going to do this regardless of the sex of the children. But it doesn't mean that LGBTQ, that is being attracted to the same sex, is pedophile. Okay, so it was a bias, it's a logical bias that, and you see Pisces, christlich, and Virgo. Okay, Virgo is about trying to find what is the missing element, and so they diagnosed the problem of pedophilia, that it is not LGBTQ. It was because people were abusing their power on children. Okay, and so when I say Christ consciousness, it means that you need to adopt a Christ consciousness, compassionate and inclusive approach in your partnerships. Because otherwise you get into positions of unnecessary sacrifice. But no, Pisces is about inclusivity, being compassionate, holding oppositions. Okay, and Mars here in Aries it doesn't blend so well into it because it wants to fight and rule the world. But if you take this Mars to having all the world be inclusive and supportive of people, then there is a global meaning to it, and we will of course outgrow this chart eventually. So this is what I have to say, because your partner, it can either be a spy, it can be crooked, it can be this, it can be that. Well, alternatively, it can also be the person that, though I walk through the valley of death, I shall not fear, for Lord, you are with me. Okay? I have ascendant Pisces, 26 degrees. If it's true that my ascendant is Pisces and not Aries, then this is my ascendant. Yes, and I'm not spy, I'm not crooked, I'm not interested in those things, but I am unfortunately positioned many times in very dangerous situations where my job is to heal people and to tell them kind of channelings of what to do. Yes, I'm not Jesus, but of what to do. It's just a lunar dimension for this ascendant. Okay, so Allah is protecting you in dangerous situation, and there is spiritual reasoning for your being in those. Why am I in Israel now? Okay, because I am energetically, my feet stand on the land of Israel, on what people call the Holy Land. I am a possibilionist, okay? I have ancestors Jews, I have ancestors from the white family, I have ancestors Christians, probably have ancestors Muslims, because I have some ancestors in North Africa. Okay, so I am not a highly religious person of one religion, but I understand that spiritually, my feet every day are stepping on the soil, and through the feet you get the blessing. This is something I learned from Indians of India. And through the feet you get the blessing, and so the feet energetically feel this soil, and they get channeling for what to do about this soil. And I'm supposed to deliver some spiritual teachings about this from my talents as astrologer. So I'm in very dangerous, I was only a couple of kilometers from villages that were slaughtered. And I didn't know if they're, when we are going to be the next. And because of my family, I couldn't walk away. Though I have passports. I have currently, I don't know what will be, but currently I have a Dutch passport. And so it's like I could have been, I could have had the papers to supposedly be somewhere else, but it's like almost fated that I'm doing this here. Okay? And this is on the descendant of the nation of Palestine. It's like I'm here to remind you, be inclusive. I'm here to remind you, grow from this chart. And to see that the spiritual, both to be, it's not like I'm witnessing because a lot is hidden, but in energy we feel, you go to sleep and you feel something is going, you don't know because you don't read about everything in the news, but something happened in Palestine. When Israel invaded Palestine, on that day I was ungrounded, and I said to my parents, I said, we are losing ground. And I said, we are losing ground, because although Israel did not lose ground, it was Palestine, but I said, we are losing ground, because this is how I felt it. So I did not know to differentiate. I basically felt like what the people like probably was feeling in Palestine. But now that I understand, but I didn't think about this because our country was also experiencing genocide, basically. So, and also the region is because of Agenda 2030 and that. Okay, what else is going on? Well, we have Mercury. I think we recently had Mercury return. Or Mercury, yes, Mercury. Oh, Mercury. Oh, Mercury was on the sun of Palestine yesterday. You know, it was such a terrible day for me. Oh, when something is on the 22nd degree, but Mercury has crossed the sun of Palestine yesterday. So Palestine on the news. Yes. But and it was funny because I was speaking with a Palestinian journalist, but I couldn't read everything that she wrote. Yeah. So you had a Mercury return, which happens often. Mars is about to conjunct your Sun. Mars, I think, is 17 degrees right now in Scorpio. Mars went over your Pluto. It was not 7th of October, but I think it's not impossible that Mars went into your Pluto and Mercury when Israel went boots on ground. But even before that, there was a lot of problems. So it's not even that. But Mars was going over your Pluto, conjunct new Pluto. Yeah, you trined your Mars. You went to the Mars trine Mars, and you're heading the Mars square Mars. A Mars conjuncting your Sun is probably not going to be looking pretty. The full moon is not going to be looking good for Palestine. But also in the sense that Palestine might want to be lethal to commit killings. It's not looking for Israel and Palestine, not looking good. And it will conjunct serious problem with food, which I know you already have in Palestine. I predict that will be in Israel also. So work with a 22nd lunar mention and a fixed star called Al-Qaid, not Al-Qaeda, Al-Qaid. A petition. Okay, you can petition now that for people to be protected from assassination, from physical harm, and so on and so forth. From the 22nd, where you get to kill and be killed. Praying for myself and loved one, praying for you, my viewers, for people in Israel and in Palestine. But this also means with the sun here, it means some leaders. Some leaders. It can be leaders of your colleague nations of like 11th house, leaders of those nations. But if so, they can be killed on your land. Okay, so if there are leaders, foreign leaders that are killed on your land, it's going to be very problematic for Palestine, and it can happen. So if you have visiting from other leaders, world nations, or your leaders, but your leaders here are not going to be killed abroad. But it's also can be your hidden enemies that are doing the killing. And because the situation is so difficult, can affect both countries. Not looking good. I don't like this full moon for you, or for Israel, or for the world. Yes. So we talked about Sun, so it's the full moon, Mars, Mercury, where they are. Jupiter in Taurus. So Jupiter, you're going to have a Jupiter return next year when Jupiter reaches Gemini. But now you have Jupiter is 12th from your Jupiter. Your fate is not strong. Okay, although Jupiter in Taurus and blah, 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 but Jupiter is actually benefiting Israel more than it's benefiting you right now. And this means your worldview. Because you are having Jupiter is optimism and it's your 9th house. So you are being very optimistic. For Israel, it's 8th house, so it's expanding our traumas, but it's also expanding the state, it's expanding the soil, because the sun of Israel is in Taurus. Unfortunately, the foundation of Israel was a trauma for Palestinians. okay, 1948. So our sun is in the 8th house. Yes, Israel's sun is in the 8th house. I don't remember what. We have Libra ascendant. Yes, that puts Israel sun in the 8th house. So this is unfortunate. Jupiter is expanding trauma for Israel. This transit in Jupiter, unfortunately, but it's also expanding land. Not forever. Okay, for the time that it is. It means that Israel is expanding its land. We're talking about conquering Gaza and conquering this and conquering that. It's like, okay, fine, whatever. How's your homeless? How's your homeless? Let's build inside Israel before we build in Gaza. So, yeah, whatever. But for Palestinians, I told you mountain area is important to you, is better for you, a city on the mountains, which is why you like Jerusalem, but you need to change, to radically change religion, to be way more inclusive, especially on LGBTQ. Then you could have Jerusalem, okay? With LGBTQ, pro-LGBTQ, you could have Jerusalem. The people who will do this to their religion, they will have Jerusalem. The new Jerusalem is true. This is true. Because Jerusalem is sacred city. Even if it was a myth by the spirit we invested into it, is sacred city. But it's not right now. The full moon is not what's happening. But the cycles of destruction are basically kind of like to build the new Jerusalem. But those who will take the crown will be more inclusive relative to this cycle, because Rahu is with Aries. Aries is those who are misrepresented. Who is the most misrepresented in religion? The crazy people, okay? Because they are being victim blamed, and LGBTQ, and in many cases children. So, and people who have some sort of a born different or this or that. So for you, it's not expanding trauma like for Israel. It's expanding human relations, it's expanding traveling, not just as refugees, not just as refugees. Right now, you're getting legitimacy to travel in the world. Those who can, those who cannot escape Gaza, they don't enjoy it, especially children. Okay, unfortunately, women with this one. But you're more welcomed in the world right now. Your human relations, you're seen more benefically in the world. But you also have losses related. It's due to a loss. You have different worldview. Jupiter expands your optimism. But with Jupiter here, it can expand your optimism and give actual points for thought. Like, hey, when we are more inclusive of women and LGBTQ, we will have land. This I feel is true to you. Of course, right now Venus is separating from opposition to Neptune, so I'm still within the both the spiritual of Venus, but also there can be disillusion. So there can be disillusionment. I mean, be over idealistic, and this is also the transit for you. Jupiter can be over optimistic, and if you think of conquering Israel, you could be over optimistic here. Okay, and I'm saying this not from any patriotic point of view. If you were pro human rights and were better at treating people, then I would say Palestine is good, no problem. I care for human rights. I care for being myself. You know, that's what I care for people to live good. That's what I care for. As Israelis, we are like that. We go where we are treated best. So too. Unless there's some spiritual mission for us to do, and then it's fated, like I'm here right now, right? But I'm also supported. So with Jupiter, there is mixed, okay? There's something good about this optimism, but it could be excessively optimism. You could become more religious or more spiritual with this one. But religion is actually, in this ninth house is the worldview is very involving land. And again, You know, you can kiss the soil 5 times a day, but if you mistreat women, you will not have land. And if you will, it will not be fertile. Okay, this is for people who are Muslims, people who are Christian. Same, mistreat women and you will not have glory. You will not have glory. Glory of God is for people who treat it well. And if the 9th house is in Taurus, then the gate to God is to treat women well. And with Uranus in Taurus, treat them also revolutionary women. You treat also unusual women, okay, trans women. Then you will have the grace of God. This is the house of God. So yes. What more? What else do we have and where? Yeah, so we talked about the moon, we talked about the sun. Where's the moon today? I don't know where's the moon today. Where's the moon today? I don't remember. Maybe Leo? So we talked about moon, talked about sun, talked about Mars, talked about Jupiter, Mercury, Venus. Venus is in Virgo, Venus is in your first house. Okay, you're attractive to the world right now. But also opposing Neptune, okay, people can be disillusioned from you. Right now, especially right now, they were idealizing you. Now the world can be disillusioned from you. Be very cautious. Remember what I said, be inclusive. Don't let LGBTQ that support you down. But it's not all dependent on you because there's a lot of surrendering to it. But as people, so you are on the news, you are first house, okay, you are seen, you are visible, you are attractive as well. You're women-ness, and I saw when Venus was in Virgo, she's approaching your ascendant. Venus approaching your ascendant. I heard a Palestinian woman sing. Oh, I never heard a Palestinian woman sing. Even before that, I began to see Palestinian shorts of Palestinian women, some of them Christians. So because of a YouTuber, I knew that there are also Christian people in Palestine. Okay, I wasn't thinking about it. I didn't know. I didn't know. Yes, but because of this opposition to Neptune, you could be highly idealized and then poof, devalued. So, and what does it rule? Your 9th house and your 2nd house, your resources and the worldview and what we call the gate to God, but it's also international relations. Okay, when you travel, how you've seen when you traveled, and with when Venus exits the opposition to Neptune, there can be disillusionment. It's like, oh, we thought these Palestinians are poor people like this and like that. And every country, they have their own thing, you know, their own rules, their own shit, their own stance, their own. For me, it was like from the river to the sea, Palestine would be free. And I'm like, I didn't know this up until Venus was in your first house. I didn't know this. I was like, I assume there are people, there are women, there are children, there are people who are in this ghetto, okay? And I'm not, it's not about judging Israel, this Israel is it. The result is that there are people sitting in a ghetto. And they need to be free. But when I saw from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, and I looked and I asked and I saw and I said, oh no, they do mean a genocide. They do mean a genocide. Not all of them, but they do mean a genocide. And I'm like, okay, my worldview is such that to make a rational decision and to have a worldview, you need to have land, you need to have freedom, you need to be able to travel, you need to be safe on your land, you need to be doing all things. And if a person is undermining themselves, then my job is to make sure that they do have these conditions so they can think more clearly, they can get out of their own 22 loop. Because this is what I believe in. Then they can be held accountable. But if a person doesn't have the condition to think correctly or to speak correctly, to make good decisions, my job is that they will have the conditions. Then I can hold them accountable. But if they don't have the conditions, there is not a person even existing there because they don't have a place to be. So this is my worldview. But I was disillusioned from Palestinian people. I was like, the fuck? What is this? What is this Eretz Israel Shlema but in Palestine? It was like, no, like this is a mistake that Israel is this. Why are you doing the same mistake? But as I see in this Jupiter and Mercury, I understand, but I also understand that the way to go is not to do the same mistakes that Israel did and just copy them, but the way to do is basically Jupiter Mercury is to have a good value of life and religion that is accepting of LGBTQ and is supportive of children to have childhood, not to be married at 12 or to be sold or to be this or to be that, okay? Or to be held in front of the bombs. You're known worldwide for this. You're not to blame for that, okay? Your leaders are to blame for that, but you're known worldwide for this. This is your image. And Gemini is your image, 24 Gemini is your image. It's Mercury ruled. What are you known for? The children that are used. Really, what they think about Palestine, what people know of Palestine is that, oh, they use their children in front of the bombs. Arab people are sick from that. Doesn't mean that they always treat their children best, but it's like, oh, we're sick from that. Okay. Arab leaders, like Lebanese people, are so that like they can't stand this anymore. And again, it's not blame, shame. It's a situation where this is your reputation, is those children, what's happening with those children is your reputation. There was a little bit of ideation because of the genocide. And I say genocide as result, not as intention. It's not a judging thing. Okay, there is Agenda 2030. People want to take over all of the real estate of the world and exterminate humanity and do eugenics. I think this is horrid, but I understand that it's we the people that need to wake up and tend to things we didn't tend to before, and by that we'll see what will be. So it's not like I'm playing a blame shame game, but I also understand that almost 10,000 people dead is genocide. The result is genocide, even if it's not the intention. The result is genocide. So people were idealizing Palestinians, but poof, Venus is going to separate from Neptune, and people are feeling like, oh, you could be experiencing disillusionment, being developed. The world could be disillusioned with you, or being developed the way you're seeing. Or also your worldview could be disillusioned. Oh, they're not going to save us. Oh, they're not going to save us, especially for women, unfortunately. Also identifies the Palestinians not going to help me to get my rights as a woman. Because what's happening in Europe, they are deporting refugees. Who are the refugees? Also Palestinian people. Go back to the ghetto. That's what they're saying. And they're hunting Jews in the name of it. Okay, it's 2 genocides. So, this is all the transits that we have. Uranus in Taurus, plenty of explosions around land in general. So, but yeah, this is, I think, everything. The eclipse, everything. Okay, and I even talked about in the full moon. Full moon. It's gonna be full moon in Scorpio, or new moon. Verdammt, I don't know. Yeah, one of those lunations that's happening in Scorpio this month. There is the Mars Sun Kazemi in 25 degrees. It's not Kazemi, sorry, it's combust. Thank you, Ksenia Moore. It's combust. Combustion just means it's almost like burnt. Okay, so it's way too hot. And there are the solar spikes, which are also not looking pretty. And, you know, may God bless us all. So this is what I have to say over this. And this is where I believe we can outgrow this chart, these points that I mentioned. But please, if this is an episode for astrological considerations for declarations of independence, this is where not to elect case. Okay? Like, this is a chart that needs to be changed, and I have ideas as to how to outgrow this chart. And it's very weird to say may peace be unto you right now, because we are in such turbulent times. The people marginalized are fighting for themselves. So may we do the right thing at the right time, with the right people. So yes, bye-bye. So you can subscribe to this channel, and yeah, that's it.